In September 2024, Sean "Diddy" Combs made a move that looked powerful at first. While investigators built their case and stories started to close in on him, he decided to document himself. He hired a cameraman and recorded nearly a week of footage. The scenes show hotels, phone calls, and quiet meetings. He called it a redemption project, designed to prove that he was calm and in control. For 6 days, the camera stayed close as he managed calls and directed people around him. The idea was to capture leadership under pressure. Instead, it captured the moment that control began to slip. Days later, Diddy was arrested, and the footage he financed to protect his image no longer belonged to him. That material resurfaced in a documentary titled Sean Combs, The Reckoning, executive produced by his longtime rival, 50 Cent. Diddy is still the face on the screen, but the story no longer follows his command.
We're losing.
Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Sean Combs, all those name changes are attached to really bad deeds.
Recording while the floor is moving. In early September 2024, Sean "Diddy" Combs decided to turn a crisis into content. Federal investigators were already gathering evidence, yet he hired his personal videographer, Michael Oberlies, to start filming what he called a redemption project. The plan was to capture the image of a man staying calm while the world pressed in. Oberlies followed him through hotels and meetings, recording long phone calls with his attorney Mark Agnifilo, and scenes of Diddy managing his team. The cameras caught him directing people, controlling the set, and speaking about strategy as if the situation were another business rollout. It was supposed to look like leadership under pressure, so for 6 days, the lens stayed close. Diddy wanted proof that he could still steer his own story, but what it really showed was how much he depended on image control to feel and command. Every shot became a record of confidence turning into exposure. What began as brand management quietly turned into a trail of material that no one could unsee once it left his hands. 50 Cent's position outside the frame. When filming ended, Michael Oberlies expected payment for his week of work, but it never came. The deal collapsed soon after Diddy's indictment, leaving hours of raw footage outside his control. Once the money stopped, so did his authority over what the cameras had captured. Oberlies later explained that a substitute cameraman filled in while he was out of state, and some of those clips later appeared in The Reckoning. He said the release did not come from him or anyone cleared to manage Combs' media. Director Alexandria Stapleton confirmed that her team obtained the footage legally, though she and 50 Cent declined to name the source. What began as a private redemption project quietly slipped into other hands, taking Diddy's version of the story with it. In the end, an unpaid invoice became the receipt for his downfall. The rival, you don't leave a door open. For when Diddy's footage slipped out of his control, it did not vanish. It landed where no one expected and where he least wanted it to. By late 2024, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson had become one of the executive producers of Sean Combs' The Reckoning. The rivalry went back 2 decades, from record dices to business jabs, always played out in public. So when 50 Cent took control of Diddy's own footage, it didn't feel like revenge, it felt like timing. In interviews, 50 Cent often described Diddy as a performer who couldn't stop acting like the room belonged to him. Now, for the first time, he had control of the room Diddy built for himself. Director Alexandria Stapleton, who previously produced work for Netflix and HBO, confirmed that her team legally obtained the footage through a private source. She said the production was assembled independently with full creative control. Still, 50 Cent's presence behind the project gave the documentary its sharpest edge. He financed and guided a story that began as his rival's self-promotion and turned it into public evidence of decline. In December 2025 interviews, 50 Cent told Good Morning America and Tudum that he was documenting himself on his way to jail. That statement captured the irony perfectly. Diddy paid to film his control, and 50 Cent paid to release his collapse. The result was not just another celebrity documentary, it was a professional and personal reversal, 20 years in the making, with the camera as the witness. For once, Diddy was on screen but not in charge, and 50 Cent managed to win a feud without saying a single new word on camera. The moments that should have stayed private. When The Reckoning premiered, the moments that stuck with viewers weren't the legal revelations or the interviews. They were the quiet, ordinary scenes Diddy never thought anyone else would see. In one clip, he walks through Harlem, accepts a jacket from a fan, then steps into his car and immediately asks for hand sanitizer. In another, he paces a hotel suite while on the phone with his attorney, Mark Agnifilo, calmly discussing how to shape the press coverage around him. The cameras follow him as he gives orders, checks his surroundings, and manages his image as if nothing outside those walls could touch him. Individually, none of it seems important, but together it shows a man who kept performing long after the performance was over. For years, that instinct made him powerful. In this context, it makes him look detached. He hired cameras to prove composure, yet they captured denial. What made these moments viral wasn't what he said, but what he couldn't hide. Even in private, he was still on brand. The same instincts that built his empire ended up exposing it, one calm gesture at a time. The power move that made it louder. Once The Reckoning reached Netflix, Diddy's team tried to stop it. His lawyers issued a cease and desist letter calling the documentary a shameful hit piece, and accusing Curtis Jackson, known to the world as 50 Cent, of using the project to settle a personal score. Then they demanded that Netflix pull the series before it reached a larger audience, but the letter had the opposite effect. Within 24 hours, the headlines about the complaint drew more attention to the documentary than any advertisement could have. Clips began to circulate on social media, and viewership spiked as people wanted to see what was supposedly too damaging to stream. 50 Cent's reaction was calm and precise. He told interviewers that the series spoke for itself and reminded audiences that all of the footage came from Diddy's own camera. By refusing to engage in a public argument, he turned the legal challenge into another example of Diddy fighting a battle that could not be won. This was an old school strategy in a new world, and Diddy came from an era when powerful men controlled narratives by intimidation or exclusivity. That tactic no longer works in an environment where every attempt to silence a story becomes a story itself. The cease and desist meant to protect his image instead became proof that he had lost control of it. For viewers, the message was clear. The same man who once managed his reputation with precision was now amplifying his own controversy through reflex, because nothing boosts attention like trying to erase it. And for The Reckoning, that mistake turned a niche documentary into a cultural event. The donation move, high-risk chess. After the backlash surrounding The Reckoning, questions surfaced about motive. Critics accused 50 Cent of turning his personal feud into entertainment, suggesting the series was a revenge project disguised as accountability. He responded with a move that silenced the conversation almost immediately. During a December 2025 appearance on Good Morning America, he announced that the proceeds from the documentary would go to organizations supporting victims of sexual assault. That statement reframed the entire debate. What had been viewed as a grudge suddenly looked like a cause. It was a calculated choice. By giving away the profits, 50 Cent removed the argument that he had produced the documentary for money. He also positioned himself as the one person in hip-hop willing to speak publicly about misconduct, a role that no one else seemed ready to take. Still, it was not without risk. The gesture opened him to new scrutiny and tied his reputation to how the donation was managed. But in the public arena, perception is everything. And 50 Cent had mastered the rhythm of perception long before he became a producer. The move turned a personal rivalry into a strategic statement. It framed 50 Cent as the only one in hip-hop willing to confront the issue without saying another word about Diddy. Once again, silence became strategy. The same man who built his career on confrontation had learned to win by stepping back. By the time The Reckoning finished its run, Diddy's story had turned inside out. What began as an attempt to control his image ended as proof that he had lost it. The footage he commissioned to rebuild his reputation became the same material that recorded his collapse. For years, he taught an entire industry how to own a narrative. He built empires on visibility, timing, and the belief that money could fix whatever attention broke. But when the pressure came, those same habits worked against him. The control that once protected his image now exposed how fragile it really was. The camera stayed loyal to what they saw. They caught the pressure, the performance, and the man who still believed the image could outlast the consequence. Then they left his orbit and told the story to someone else. The Reckoning isn't just a documentary about a famous man under investigation. It's what happens when power assumes it still owns the lens. Diddy didn't just lose control of a story, he lost authorship of himself. He became a character in a film he no longer directed, and when the lights went out, one truth stayed on screen. When you film everything, you better be sure you still own the ending. What do you think? Was 50 Cent's involvement a masterclass in strategic accountability, or was it just the ultimate petty revenge move? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more deep dives into the hidden power dynamics of the music industry, make sure to like and subscribe.